Oh, is it? Good evening. Hi. Good evening, everybody. This is Gosia Wochowska from Gals for Gals Berlin and Gals for Gals Łódź, a part of the Polish diaspora, so people of Polish origins living abroad who got together. Berlin and Gals for Gals Łódź. Oh, and created together International Council of Polish Women. We are a completely bottom-up initiative spread over around the world with an incentive to promote feminist values and especially focus on what is happening in Poland, make it visible, make it heard, and build connections across borders. This is what the International Council of Polish Women is. We are super happy because from very recent starting point, from just a couple of months ago, we managed to create together this conference, to put it together completely bottom up, completely self-financed, self-organized by us and our time, abilities, and the willingness to promote feminist values across the world. So here we are tonight together. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you will stay for the next 1 hour and a half. Sit back, relax, comment, which you can do on Facebook and on YouTube, where we are going streaming live. I will pass the floor to Joanna, the second moderator of the panel, which will present it, and our amazing panelists tonight.
Thank you very much, Gosia. So my name is Joanna Kosterska, and I have an honor today to be a moderator of this panel, but I'm also supporting DziewuCHy Szwajcaria, the organization that it's based in Switzerland. So today's panel is called March 9th Beyond Borders. What is the feminist Polish diaspora and what are its alliances? And I would say that the title is pretty self-explanatory. We will concentrate on the Polish feminists who are active supporters of women's rights and of their tandems, the partners organization, so to speak, on the ground, the local organization which supports the work. And we would like to discuss how the collaboration works, what drives them, what works, what doesn't work. And during this panel, we will have a chance to meet the tandems, to meet the groups. We will start with asking them some questions. So the opening question to the groups that I will have a pleasure to present in 1 second. The open question is, who are you? Which organization you're active in? What is your relationship with the fellow group? And I'm very honored to present our speakers for today evening. The first speakers are coming from Switzerland. It's Katarzyna Nagórny from DziewuCHy Szwajcaria, who later on will be supported by Dolores Bertschinger. Then we have France with Association Défense de la Démocratie en Pologne, which is represented by Joanna Lasserre, and Véronique Séhier, who is the former CEO of Planning Familial France. Welcome. Then we move a little bit further to in Europe, to Denmark, where we have a Polish feminist non-formal group represented by Katarzyna Arndt, and the organization Volt Danmark, which will be represented by Kathrine Richter. And then at the end, we are moving again through the map of Europe, and we are finishing in Germany, where we will have a representative from DziewuCHy Berlin, Anna Krenz, and from the FemBunt organization represented by Kalina Drenska. Each of the organization will have approximately 9 minutes to answer the questions that I posed at the beginning of the introduction. And please feel free to put the comments, to put the questions. If you're particularly interested in a certain organization, it would be helpful if you could write at the beginning of your question to which organization the question is being addressed. So without further ado, I'm leaving the stage to Katarzyna Nagórny from DziewuCHy Szwajcaria. Thank you very much and enjoy.
Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Nice to meet you all. It's a pleasure to represent DziewuCHy Szwajcaria. I have only 4 minutes, 30 seconds, so I will be short. My colleague from my tandem, Dolores, will come later, as Joanna said. So you will meet her at the end of at the beginning or at the end of the second part, I think. Something about DziewuCHy Szwajcaria. We are here. We are at the moment an official association. We were founded in 2016 in Zurich. It was the beginning was, of course, connected with the whole umbrella movement, and we were protesting against Kaja Godek's initiative. We were looking for some, not alliances, but we were looking for the same people, thinking about the same changes that we have to make in the world. And that's why we found some other feminists. But as it is always in Switzerland, everything is grassroots. So the movement, the DziewuCHy Szwajcaria movement, is also grassroots movement. We, as I said, we are at the moment an official association, and since November 2020 we are registered. What we do, we organize meetings, discussions, solidarity actions, workshops, protests, of course, as well. And we have the same ideas, the same postulates, which are, let's say, represent the same kind of organizations in different countries. So I will not be talking a lot about it. I would like to tell you something about Frau, which is our co-tandem, and about Swiss women on strike. When we found ourselves in 2016 in Zurich, we were looking for some place where we could meet, and from time to time organize the whole stuff, organize for example, protests, and talk, do some politics as well. And it happened that Frau, which is a compound word from Frau and Raum, space for women. Frau was the place where we could meet in person, and they have well, Frau is not an office. Frau is not place that you think about when you think about doing politics. It's just a women's space. It's just an apartment where we can meet, where we meet. And Frau is also the platform for different feminist organizations which meet there and have they have, I think, most of them have similar or the same postulates that we have. Yes, I wanted also to tell you about the Swiss strike. We took part in the Swiss strike in 2019. There were at least 15 people from that we knew that at the moment were with us, but we realized that in every canton where the women were on strike, the Swiss women were on strike, in every canton there were Polish women. So we can say that our actions, our movement is absolutely grassroots, and that everything what we do, we could not do without the support of other people, other women in Switzerland. Not only Polish, of course, but mostly Polish. I think that's it. 4 minutes.
Perfect. Very good timing. Thank you so much, Kasia. And now we will move a little bit across the border to France.
Hello. Is it to me now? Yes. So hello from Paris. I am very happy to be here with all of us. I represent ADDP, the French organization that has been working in France for 5 years. And our aims is to promote democracy globally in Poland and in Europe. We inform the French public, politicians and media about the situation in Poland and about the attempts, of course, of current Polish government to limit the freedom of Polish citizens. In recent years, we have been highly concerned by the increasing and systematic agenda against women. There are the regular attempts to limit or even strip away women's rights, we know it, by fundamentalist organizations. And each of these moments, we have had to organize demonstrations with other feminist groups in France to voice our disagreement. Our aim is to inform public opinion, the media, and French NGOs about what is happening in a neighboring European country. This issue touches all of us as Europeans, as progressive women and men, and also LGBTQI plus community. We work with a number of organizations in Poland, such as Grand Coalition for Equality and Choice, KURF, with Federa and others. At the same time, we have several French NGO partners. The League of Human Rights, Reporters Without Borders, League for the Education, which is active in promotion of laicite, a big subject in both Poland and France. We collaborate also with the city of Paris. A relationship was unfortunately interrupted by the pandemic and curfew, but we will continue it when it will be possible. We engage these partners in debate about the current situation in Poland. We ask them to influence French politicians and French society about the degradation of the rule of law and human rights. Family Planning is an important organization for women's autonomy and rights, and we have collaborated closely with Véronique for the past year and a half. In January of last year, we got in touch with Family Planning with Natasha, another member of ADDP, and we invited the Polish activist and writer Klementyna Suchanow to Paris. She has just published her book, To jest wojna, that's the war, with the exclamation point, about the fundamentalist movements all over the world against women. Klementyna is from the beginning one of the leaders, we know it, of the Polish women's strike. Thanks to your help, Véronique, Klementyna was invited to discussion about women reproductive rights at the annual Doctors of World conference, where she presented several years of research about international fundamentalist organizations and networks, like the Family World Congress. She has clearly shown the worldwide liaisons and action of this network against women, and as well as their influences in lobbying, reaching even inside the United Nations and the EU institutions. The same term was presented by the NAILS data report published by Family Planning in France in your www site in October 2020. We have co-organized demonstrations with other Polish groups in France, Nous d'abord, Démocratie. Our last protest was on October 22nd and after December 3rd. And a few days ago at Republic Place in Paris with Nous d'abord and another artist. They were wearing the Polish folkloric costumes, and the girls were unchained with the iron ball on her leg and dancing. It was amazing. We appreciate effort to crowdfund for the Polish women's strike, and we hope to continue to gather solidarity with family planning throughout all of France. Let me thank you for this, Véronique, because I think it's commendable work that you are doing for us, and your role in the organization of family planning, as well as the centers all over the country, all over France, who manifest their solidarity with Poles. The money we collected will be sent to Polish Women's Strike with a special mention about your help as family planning. It's all for the moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanna. So effectively, I'm from the French family planning. I've been in the French family planning since a long time, because when I started at the beginning, the law for abortion was not yet voted, you know. And I think when the law has been voted, it was very important for French women and French people, but it was not enough, because we know that a law can be not implemented or not implemented enough. So we have still a lot of work to do. So what I want to say about the family planning is that we fight for sexual rights, all kinds of sexual rights, because they are the beginning of equality between men and women, and the equality between everybody, because if you can't live your sexual life without discrimination, yet it is very complicated. So we think that everybody should live his life without discrimination, either violence. So it's very important. And we should start at the beginning to educate young people to know everything about their bodies, about the way, about consent, about the way they can live their life and choose what they want to live. That is very important. What I want to say at the same time is that if a woman somewhere cannot enjoy her rights, then all women will be in difficulty, because I think these rights, these human rights, should be for every woman in the world, and that's why we are really supporting women in Poland and women in Argentina, because we are very close to them at the same time, and we think that if the women's rights shrinks somewhere, they shrink everywhere, and it is very important. So what is happening at the moment in Poland is a threat for Europe and is a threat for France at the same time. So our organization is a very grassroots organization. We have about 75 groups in all over France, which can welcome people for giving contraception and information, sexuality education in schools and in places where young people are. And what we do is really to be very careful that all the laws that have been voted will be implemented for every woman, for every young people, and everywhere in France. Because we know that, for instance, it's better to live in Paris than in some rural areas or in some places where you have no structures that can afford contraception or afford abortion, for instance. And this is very important. So that's, I think it's the thing I need to say, that we are a very old organization. We are 65, yes, on the 8th of March, but we are still very young because we have a lot of young people coming to join us. And it is very important that I think this way of women working together of all generations, and this is very important for us. And we have another very important point of view is this international way of working with people everywhere, and this is very important. We cannot just stay in France looking at our rights, but we have really to say that we need being in solidarity with every woman in the world. That's just what I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. I think it was really interesting insight from your work, and yeah, it's really inspiring. So now let's move to Denmark for the Volt Danmark.
Muted. Hi, hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes, but yeah. I think it might be a little bit in delay. Can we try again?
I think I'm good now.
Yes. Oh, perfect. Yes, all good.
How about me? Is it fine?
Yes, okay. Yes, all good. Perfect.
Should I go first? Yes.
Please.
So, my name is Kathrine Richter, and I am from Volt Danmark. Volt is part of the pan-European political movement and party Volt Europa. And I think what we've really seen in the last couple of years is that in the face of nationalism, in the face of fragmentation, we need to come together as people to really drive the change that we want to see. And when we look at what is happening in Poland, and when we look at what is happening, I'm sitting here in Copenhagen, I'm sitting here in Denmark, and Poland is a neighboring country, and it feels like we're so far apart. And I think that just goes to show that we need to focus so much more on the interaction between people that we're able to create, to really drive the change that we need to see. Because we need to fundamentally remember that when it comes to human rights, it is a European value. And so what we try to do in Volt, and what I've been very grateful in working together with Kasia here in Denmark, is to support the cross-border cooperation and to really work hard to transcend the idea that we need to solve our country's problems only within our own countries. And we are here together on a digital platform. We're here together, we're far apart, but we are together. And I think we need to take these opportunities to build and forge that network of people who want to drive that change. Now, I was extremely happy with the description that you gave about being allies to the Polish cause. I think that's a beautiful term. And not only the phrase, but to set the example, to set the image that we are truly allies in a fight for human rights. And as I said before, I'm in Denmark, and Poland is a neighboring country. I sit here in a secular country that has had free rights to abortion, in one of the first countries in Europe that freed the abortion, and our neighboring country has now introduced these very, very different regulations, to say the least. And so we need to think, how can we help? How can we support? And I'm thrilled in the way that we, as a pan-European party, as a pan-European organization, are able to help and support wherever we are. The Volt is not just in Denmark; we're across on the European continent, because to truly create a new collaboration format, to truly drive Europe forward, we can't just look at it as a national issue. We have to look at our European values as a European issue. So I just want to thank you for creating this platform, and for making sure that the 8th of March is not just one day a year, but that we truly use this date to highlight human rights everywhere, and certainly the existence of the extreme situation that's happening in Poland at the moment. So thank you so much for allowing me to join tonight.
Should I start talking?
Yes,
oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for pointing out the important cross-border European aspect. I think we can all feel it, and we can all connect to what you just said. Let's end. Yeah, without further ado, the second partner of the tandem, please.
So my name is Kasia, and I live in Denmark for like 3 years right now, and I'm one of the organizers of the protest in Copenhagen supporting Polish women on strike. And I like to say that we, as a Polish woman living in Denmark, we are. I like to say that we are just a bunch of very angry women right now. And living in Denmark is not taking out our obligatory to actually be worried about the country. And me, as a person, being the young one, and seeing my friends on the streets being attacked by the far right organizations, or being put in danger with the anti-right and pro-Catholic, anti-choice and pro-Catholic government, and it's just very scary. And that's actually what moved us to start protesting here in Denmark as well, as all of the Europe actually were doing, to show the support for Polish women, especially after the October 2020. And our main goal as an organization was to educate people and spread the awareness what's going on in Poland, on more like international level, So we didn't focus in the beginning. Yes, we focused more about the abortion ban, but then we also were talking more about the situation in Poland. If you're gonna look at the LGBT community being in danger, or even just like the economic and healthcare system, which is fixed only by television propaganda, being actually working in very bad way and being financially supported from the Polish people, for the Polish working class. And right now we do not have a name, and we are a non-formal group, but I would like to say that we are still waiting for the green light from Danish Parliament, and it's going pretty well right now, and we are hoping for the best, because we might be another auntie in the Europe, and we might work again to support Polish women also to get safe and free abortion. For me, it's very important to have that, especially because Poland is a big country. I'm from the small town, and I know that there is so much women in the small town that they just need our help. And this is the most important thing for me right now. There is a fight for the women who do not really have the opportunities to actually get the abortion on any platforms right now. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. And thank you for, I think it's very important points. Really, I'm also from a smaller, let's say, city, so I think it's very important point to support women. It feels like there's no other choice. There is no hand over there. I'm all alone. And thank you so much for bringing this up to the forum. Thank you for great tandem work, you guys. And now we can move to Germany. Hoi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Which of us should
go first, please?
Oh, then I will be very short. Hello, I'm Anna. I'm Anna Krenz from DziewuCHy Berlin. DziewuCHy Berlin it's a similar organization like DziewuCHy in Switzerland. We were also founded in 2016 because we were angry, and we are still angry, but also tired after 5 years of activities in Berlin. So what we do is, of course, we talk a lot about the situation of Polish women in Poland. We try to help as much as we can. We cooperate. One of DziewuCHy members is also a member of Trzecia Basia, which is an organization that helps Polish women to have an abortion in Berlin. And unfortunately, I must say, she is more busy with Trzecia Basia because she gets phone calls every day. She's always on the phone. With the situation has really changed since since January. And we DziewuCHy, we do, of course, a lot of protests, street actions, because that's a way of talking to people as well, to engage them. We try to do a lot of artistic actions because we think that sometimes it's okay to use pictures and art instead of words, especially if words are sometimes difficult. And in the world of where so much hate speech is all over in the social media and on the streets, we use pictures as well, and artistic means and tools like performances and a lot of art. But we also act politically. I just got back just a second before we started. I was on a discussion with the members of German Parliament. We were trying to find out how can we help the Polish LGBT plus community in Poland because of what is happening with the LGBT free zones. So we also do a lot of talking and lobbying, and which is obviously, it's a hard work, but we try to go intersectional as well. We try to get out of a female only feminist-only, Polish-only bubble. We try to be integrated part of society in Germany or Berlin, because that's the way we can reach more people with the Polish cause. And the Polish cause is not only about Poland, as Poland is not an island. Poland is connected to Europe. Germany, Poland are neighboring countries. So obviously these connections are quite close since many years and centuries. And we feel a lot of support from the side of Germany. But we as Polish women, we also fight for women's rights in Germany, not only because we live here, so it's our rights as well. But I think the solidarity, female feminist solidarity, should go both ways as well. And that's why we fight to get rid of the paragraphs 218 and 19a, which regulate abortion in Germany, which is normally a criminal act. And it's being regulated in criminal code, which is not really cool. And we are trying to push the Bundestag to just get rid of these paragraphs and do it differently. So it's also something to do in Germany. I don't know how many minutes do I have, but I think I said everything. Just shortly that we will talk to Kalina from FemBunt. She will talk about her group. I just wanted to say we have met, we do projects together. We made an exhibition together it's 3 years ago, 2019. We had an exhibition called Putting Patriarchy Apart. So obviously these connections are quite close. Oh, it's me, I'm doing myself. And now we have been making another project. Maybe Kalina will tell it, or maybe we'll tell it again. Kalina.
Good evening. My name is Kalina Drenska. Thank you very much, Anna, for the nice introduction, and thank you very much for having me here and inviting me here for this evening. I'm a little bit different than the other tandem partners because I myself am a migrant too. I'm Bulgarian, and I'm representing a Bulgarian organization here, like Bulgarian migrant diaspora and feminist organization called FemBunt. And we were established in 2018. And what Anna doesn't know is that actually one day before establishing the organization, we actually met with her. So the establishment of FemBunt it came later than me meeting Anna, but she probably doesn't remember because this was during a protest. And on the next day, we also had a protest in front of the Bulgarian embassy. And this was a protest against violence against women in 2018. This was a huge topic in Bulgaria. We had the Istanbul Convention being banned in Bulgaria, basically, and that's why we were protesting. And actually, this is one of the things why I really, really, really want to underline the importance of international solidarity with each other, because Bulgaria, as it was already said, Poland is not an island. And what is going on in Poland resonates all over the world, but especially in other Eastern European countries. And the same arguments that are used against feminists, against women, against LGBTQI plus people in Poland are basically taken and implemented also in Bulgaria. And with the very same arguments with which the right extreme is arguing against some gender ideology and things like this. This was the basis on which the Istanbul Convention was banned in Bulgaria, 2018, and this is the reason why FemBunt exists. As an organization. We, of course, we organize a lot of protests, especially about feminist protests against violence towards women, in support of LGBTQI communities, but also we are very much involved in labor issues and labor rights topics. And this is what Anna meant before that. Recently, we started together, like FemBunt, DziewuCHy Berlin, and Freie Botschaft and Initiative der Betreuerinnen. That are all migrant and feminist organizations here in Berlin. We did a campaign for 8th of March, and the campaign was well, it was dealing with workers' rights and women's workers' rights, of course. And we were basically asking women from our regions, from Eastern and Central Europe, who are in Germany, to answer one simple question: what would you change in your daily life, or in your, like, not daily life, but in your work life, if you were able to change everything? And we had amazing responses from Poland, from Hungary, from Bulgaria, all over the place, which remind us once again that the issues that we face, both as feminists, but also as at our workplace, as workers, and as migrants, are very similar. And that's why it is really important to connect, to talk to each other, to show solidarity with each other, and to fight together in order to succeed, and in order to be more impactful. And that being said, I'm going to conclude my my introduction for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kalina. I think it's amazing how broad we are, and I personally really loved the fact that this influenced all of us, and also not only Europe. I think it's really, we are tackling global issues, and we are tackling women all over the world. And I think everyone right now in front of their screens are nodding their heads, and also nodding their heads when you're speaking. I was smiling, making notes and nodding my head. Yes, yes, exactly. I can relate 100% to everyone, to all our speakers. Thank you so much. I think it was super interesting also to hear about your work with Bundestag. I think it's also really interesting. Unfortunately, the round one needs to come to an end. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone to provide very inspiring and insightful information about your organizations, and also about your work and where you are. I would like now to have a look at our comments, because as you know, people could comment and ask questions on Facebook, Instagram. So we have a question actually, but this is from Geneva, but it's not really targeted anyone. So whoever feels like answering, please just jump in. So the question is, do you have any proven methods to find and engage local activists? In Geneva, we have a problem with this. This is actually connected with another comment. Someone also asked about how to engage Polish people also locally. So whoever would like to answer these questions, please feel free to jump in. Oh, we're coming back to Germany. Okay, I think you've been volunteered, but if you don't want to answer this question, that's absolutely fine. We can go to another group. But if you have any gold ideas or you know, some insights how to engage people, you know, with your organization locally, how to engage local people, please share with us.
Just very shortly, I'll just say one thing. It's not easy to engage people because people have their lives. Poland is far away, and not everybody has the same anger, or not everybody has enough time, or not everybody lives with a mission of an activist. But it can be done, of course. What I notice in Berlin is that it's coming in waves. I call it a critical mass. So when bad things happen in Poland, then there is an immediate response also in Berlin, and hundreds of people are coming to our demonstrations, and they want to be engaged because they get so angry, and it's a big fire. And so that's the fire of a demonstration. The question is, can you keep the fire on the next day? It's a different thing. Maybe somebody has an idea how to keep that fire.
Okay. I see that Denmark would also like to say something. Can we have ladies from Denmark, please? Oh, perfect.
I just want to say something pretty short because in Denmark it's pretty easy to involve people because people here are very, especially like Polish people, when something happened like that in Poland, there was so many people that they just like threw themselves over the internet to help us the organizing all of the protests and etc. And then we found out the idea that maybe we can make this abortion background for Polish women, and then people started inviting us with the messages that they want to help with the language, with some place to stay, etc. There's so much power, and I think it's something that Denmark kind of had the opportunity to see from Polish people, to be so connected with each other, even we live abroad, to actually work on it. And the one thing that I have to say, Danish people love to signing up the petition. So there's always the idea to actually send them the petition to support some of the actions that we are taking, or maybe not we, but the organizations that we are working with.
Perfect, thank you so much. Another voice from Denmark?
I mean, I can confirm that we like to sign things, that's for sure. No, but I think one of the things that we also see involved is that it's also about planting the idea in people's minds that you can make a difference. So even if you're not able to join the people on the streets in Poland, it does have a big impact having an event or doing some actions where you are. And of course, the Polish people in different places around Europe will not have the same size as when you're home, but it doesn't matter, because simply coming together and having that, sending that signal back home and saying, we also care, no matter where we are, we care. And when you're then able to translate that into the local community as well and bring them on, like Kasia was talking about, inviting us in to share in the fight. I think that's an idea that we have to plant in people's minds as well, that we can do this. There is an internationalization. There is, we talk about globalization and it sounds such a big, impossible thing to generate, but internationalization, simply thinking that we can help each other across borders, is something that we're slowly beginning to understand now, particularly also with all the digitalization that's happening. We can have these conversations right now, and that can empower us to join in the forces and help where we can. And I know for sure it's been my privilege and pleasure to just be a support to everything that Kasia has been doing, because it's been absolutely amazing to watch her fire and her passion for this cause.
Thank you so much. Yes, I think it's really about the fire, the passion, and the fact that we would like to show, hey, we are here. You don't walk alone. Nie będziesz szła sama. I think that's the key word that we are sending to our sisters in Poland, and also to any other women with similar issues. I think we also have Franz with some good ideas. Can we have, please, Véronique here? You can get rid of me for a moment. Oh, wow, we can be all here. Oh, perfect.
I'll be very short, but just to say that it is very important to have young people working with us, and it is very important to have different kinds of mobilization. I think that we can be together in the streets, we can be together behind our computer when we can't go out. And I thought it was very amazing to see Polish women in March being outside and doing things they were really creative. And this is very important, creativity for having some kinds of mobilization. All kinds of mobilization is very important. And that gives us fire, I think, really.
Thank you so much. Okay, so again, with this fire, which I also feel, we are concluding our first round. And I have a pleasure to leave you in Gosia's hands for the second round of this panel. Once again, big thank you to all of you to share your thoughts and insights from your organization. It's very inspiring. And despite it's a little bit late in the evening, I don't feel tired at all. It's really incredible how the good energy, it's now floating around Europe and also I think around the world right now. Thank you. Gosia, we cannot hear you,
Yep.
I guess. Yes, now.
Yes,
Perfect.
now I think you can hear me again. Yeah, it actually is around the world. We got greetings from Dallas, from US, from Madrid, from Baute in Łódź, from Toronto in Canada, from Manchester, Paris, Zurich, San Francisco, Brussels, Cambridge, Freiburg in Germany, Odense from Denmark, Warsaw in London. So greetings back to you, all of you that send us good energy from where you're watching us. And it's either late in the evening as it is here in Berlin, or late or early in the morning as it is in Australia, or early afternoon in the US. So hi, hello, good morning, or good evening to everybody. So we've concluded the first round. Now we're going to a more freestyle session where our tandems from Germany, Denmark, France, and Switzerland will be able to ask each other questions regarding things that they always wanted to ask each other in terms of activism and where they take the energy from. We are actually with Joanna, not sure how what the questions will be. We leave it in your hands, in the tandem's hands, so that we can find out what are the things that make us stand in our fight together, and how transnational feminist solidarity can work in practice. One by one, I will now invite the tandems to take the floor, starting now in a reverse order from Germany. So welcome back. Kata, who is our technical support, is pulling the speakers in. The floor is yours for 9 minutes.
Okay, so Anna, I would like to ask you, how is the Polish strike going right now? What has happened? What is the future? What are the possibilities there? And what are the possibilities for further transnational connection of the Polish strike with other feminist movements and dynamics?
Well, okay, the Polish strike, which is, it is not a strike as an action. It is a name of a movement. What are they doing? They have been protesting since October, almost every day, every week, who knows it. So, of course, obviously, people may get tired, but they are still standing. They are still standing on the streets, despite the worsening situation with the police. People are being really beaten up, and it's really ugly. It's really not nice. It's something that, well, Poland, maybe it was a country where people were beaten up in the 80s, but then it was many years where police was just a nice police, and suddenly this violence is becoming really scary. People are being followed, and young girls are being stopped, and police go to their homes. So what are they doing? They are protesting, but also they thought the Polish women's strike as an organization, and we have many different organizations in Poland, but this one is like the most popular one because it is also the name of a movement or action or a movement. They have made the strike council. So they decided, yes, to talk to people, to the society, and ask questions and find out what would people like to change. So they had different subjects, like, I don't know, women's rights, church, ecology even. And through discussions, online discussions, obviously in the times of pandemic, they have made postulates, and these sectors will be developed by this council. And we will see what happens. But for example, the Polish strike, the group, they have a postulate about abortion. They want to simply have abortion free, legal, safe, without any restrictions. That's their postulate. But there is also political parties which have less radical postulates. They try to force free or legal abortion through different bills, and they try to put them in the parliament. Of course, it will never happen, because obviously they don't have the majority. So the Polish women strike, they are still standing on the street, but they also have this council. So they thought about, okay, being on the street is fine, but also having a proposal for the government. Will the government listen? That's a different question. So that's, if that could answer. But just one thing, very shortly, the strike in Poland, we actually had it in 2016. It was a real strike that many women did not go to work. Back then, the international Polish women's strike was an event, not a group, and many people didn't go to work. But I'm wondering, because then I would like to ask you now a question.
Sure.
Because now, yeah, I think what you also said before, it's quite interesting and important about Bulgaria, and about that you are also a migrant, just like many of us here. And it's actually important that we talk migrants to migrants, and we support each other, being away from our home countries, struggling with the same shit very often. But tell me, please, how is Bulgaria? How are the struggles, feminist struggles, and situation of Bulgaria? Any strikes happening, maybe, or not? How is this?
Yes, so I mean, it's funny that that we are presented as Germany, because we are actually not going to talk about Germany. I'm very sorry for people who will be disappointed. I hope they won't be disappointed. So what is going on in Bulgaria? As I already said, well, I mean, we share many similar problems with other countries from Eastern and Central Europe with regards to feminist rights and to feminist struggles and LGBTQI people fights and struggles and problems. And as already said, what happened 2018 was the collision, let's say so, of some reactionary forces that are very powerful throughout Eastern and Central Europe, coming together. And then in the case of Bulgaria, it was basically the same arguments that Kaczynski and others are using now against LGBTQI people that were used in Bulgaria, and then we lost. I mean, basically we lost big time. We were not prepared, we were not organized, and we like, it was a disaster. But this like huge disaster kind of like prefigurated a little bit the feminist sphere, which meant that 2018 there was a huge activity, like much more feminist activity and organizing than in the years before that. And basically many organizations, actually I'm part of two feminist organizations. Both of them were established 2018 because of these results and because of these things. And the topics that we were trying to deal with were, of course, violence against women, which is a huge topic, but we were trying to deal with it in a slightly more structural way. So before 2018, it was a little bit of a broad, like, of a narrowly seen topic as physical violence at home. And then what we try to do is to say, okay, it's structural. I mean, you have exploitation, you have racism, you need to look at it like, from a more intersectional perspective. And I think this is a debate that is ongoing, which is very good. And then what happened in 2019 is that nurses went on strike in Bulgaria, like not a real strike, but on protests for better working conditions. And this topic became very present on the feminist agenda, which is good. It was like labor rights were not on the feminist agenda before that. So we are very happy, and we are very happy for this development. And right now, what is going on is, of course, the pandemic, and then essential labor, especially performed by women, is very much on the agenda. Of course, violence against women is also very present. Violence against LGBTQI people, and also violence against Roma communities, which are extremely marginalized. So these are very present topics. And we will be talking about the strike. We, for the first time, the feminist protest on the March of 8 this year made a claim for making the strike law a little, like, for extending the strike law. so that we have a right for general strike, which we don't have in Bulgaria right now. And we also want to talk to unions, because we know that I think throughout Eastern Europe, it's a shared experience that unions are not necessarily very involved in feminist issues. So we want to talk to them and then try to sensibilize them, or at least start the dialogue, and then let's see what happens. So yeah, and I think there are many lines in which we can connect and work, and especially learn from the Polish struggle and Polish women and support each other, because I think that what you managed to pull out as a strike, as a protest, as an experience, it's something that we haven't. We don't have this. We don't have this organization. We don't have this knowledge. And
Kalina, Anna, thank you very much for pointing out many things. One of them is that we all have to address wicked ideas of policymakers, no matter where they come from, whether from Bulgaria, Germany, or Poland. So thank you for standing hand in hand in the fight. We're also promoting the campaign that you made together. What would you change in your daily life if you could? So I'm pasting the link to the campaign in the chat or among the comments on Facebook and on YouTube, so people can tune in and join it. Thank you very much. I will now pass the floor to our panelist from Denmark, Katarzyna. Kathrine, are you ready? The floor is yours for maximum 9 minutes.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, I'm going to have a question for Kathrine first. Because you already said something about it, and Volt Europa is the pro-European movement. And what does for you as a member of Volt Danmark, which is the part of that movement, mean the fight next to the Polish women? And how do you see that issue? Is it more like a local issue, or is it's supposed to be solved with the as a part of the European Union members between them?
I mean, exactly. I think the moment that you realize that issues like this do happen in other parts of the world, and human rights, abortion rights, LGBTIQ+ rights are being violated in different countries, in Europe even, and once you realize that, and once you know that in order to fix these things, it is insufficient to think that we can do it only as a local thing. In my opinion, I think one of the most important lessons that we've learned from this is that in order to get the attention, we need international pressure. But we've also come to some understanding here that it has to come somehow through national organizations. So you and I may have a discussion here in Denmark, and we hope that our Danish politicians will somehow put pressure on the Polish government. But I also think that we don't see that pressure necessarily as much as we would like. And so the idea of a pan-European movement is to revolutionize and to rethink the way that we as people can support each other to fight for the rights that we think are important and the values that we think are important. And so the idea of pan-European activism is obviously the next step. And it shouldn't only be through petitions, though they are very helpful, but they should also be in a way that we empower each other right where we are, and can use that energy to send forward to those people on the front lines. Because as we know, you and I, you are in a front line, but not physically there present, but certainly you are, psychologically you are on the front line, because you feel what happens to your people, basically in Poland, to your sisters and to your family. And what can we do to support you in your struggle? Well, what can we do to basically call attention to what is happening? And so I think we really have to stop the idea that it only has to happen on a national or in a local platform. We have to think pan-European, because these issues happen again and again. And we need to learn, and hopefully we are learning that now. I really strongly believe that we are learning that, how we can work together across borders. And events like this just highlights how easy it is to create the connection, but also how hard it is to maintain the pressure. And so we need that pan-European pressure because we need that understanding that it's not okay to violate human rights. No matter where you are, it's just not okay. And so the more that we propel this story and this value-based narrative saying it's not okay, it becomes very much harder for no matter where you are in Europe and the world to keep up such nationalized policies if there's international external pressure.
Yeah, thank you.
But I mean, but you know, there is a national pressure, and there should be national pressure. You know, it's not either or. So, for example, right now there are 2 Danish political parties that want to offer free access to abortion for people from Poland who want to have the abortion but is not able to get it from Poland. But what do you think about that proposal? So two Danish political parties have made this proposal. What does that leave you with?
I'm overwhelmed with the support that we are getting from the Scandinavian countries, and I'm not talking only about Denmark, because Sweden and Norway, they are already doing this, and it's just such a nice feeling for me. And like, it's gonna be a little bit private story, but I remember me being a child. We've been always like keep told to us that Poland is alone. Poland was always alone. And right now, when this huge issue is going on right now, and we are actually putting in danger women's life right now just because of someone's beliefs, it makes me feel so overwhelmed that we actually have a support, and the country that I decided to live in actually is caring about the people who lives here, and they are not pretending that there is not a problem just behind the sea. So I think that's something just it's such a relief as well, because of course that's just a temporary solution. It's not going to be all the time. We want to have our country to respect women's rights and human rights, but just the idea that there's the Scandinavian countries, they just threw themselves to help Polish women and to support, and then you also can see there's so much support from the Danish society as well. Danish people are talking about the help, how they can actually do. There's like, just because I became kind of like a leader of the movement in Denmark, I received 50 messages per day from people, and like half of it was usually from the NGOs organization. That's actually how we met. So that's how it actually happened. And I also was talking 2 days ago with Victoria Velasquez. I don't want to pronounce wrong the name, but that's the politician from Danish parliament. And I already get the details. I already get the social opinion about it. And I'm just overwhelmed with the kindness and support that we are getting, because I think that's how the European Union should work. So there's not only about the money, sometimes it's about the rights, that you have to help each other, and especially it's the country in the middle of the Europe in 21st century, and it's heartbroken that it's my country, but also I don't feel alone here. I have full support from the NGOs from Denmark and from the Danish government and from Danish society. So I think it's just great, and it makes me feel that I want to move forward and fight for my country, even being outside of it.
I mean, it shows simply what support can do, and I think we shouldn't underestimate. Yeah, and we just shouldn't underestimate how much it means to just turn up. And I mean, I think one of our previous panelists mentioned, you know, it's people have different priorities, people have different schedules, and it can be difficult to engage people. But the moment that we stop seeing any issues towards human rights violations or anything like that, the moment we stop seeing it only as a national issue or a local issue, the moment we say, of course it's an international issue. I mean, all the events in Copenhagen, the ones that you arranged, they were both in Polish and in English. I think you also wrote in Danish as well. Like, so it's very inclusive as well. So I don't speak Polish. It's my next to do list. But the idea that as a non-Polish person I'm invited to take part just means the world, because we want to do this. We want to support. So just being invited in makes all the difference.
Very true. Based narrative that you both presented, which we know then translates into laws. The idea of conditionality rule in the EU budget, so combining together the money and the value-based policymaking, didn't just appear from nothing. It's the protests and cooperation that resonated in some political actions now. So it's very true what you're saying. Values translate into practices. Thank you for your part. I will now move on to our third tandem. We're going to France. Véronique and Joanna, are you ready to take floor? Take the floor. Sorry, I always say it wrong. Take the floor.
Yes.
Sorry.
I have a question to Véronique. I know that you have been very active in international level about women's rights movement. How were you concerned by, for example, Generation Equality Forum of UN organization for the International Women's Day? Have you been involved in it? And I know also you have been participated in the European Citizens Forum. The organization that was created by French activists in Brussels. And I would like to ask you, what does this mean for the pan-European dimension of your work? How is the European perspective important? And what do you expect or hope to achieve with the EU level?
Thank you for this question, Joanna. It's a very huge question. 5 minutes is not enough, but we try to sum it up. I think there are very important things. Yes, we are involved in the Generation Equality Forum because I think it's very important 26 years after the Beijing conference to say that women's rights are not really achieved, and sometimes they are shrinking with the crisis at the moment. So it's very important to have with us all the governments who want to progress about it and to put them with some aims that they have to achieve really, and they have to give money for that, because we spoke of money, rights and value. And sometimes they just separate things, and they say, yes, we like sometimes, for instance, France and the French government say we are going to defend the rights, but they wouldn't put the money, the necessary money for that. And this is very important. And the other level about Europe is very important because, for instance, I am a member of the Economic, Social and Environmental Council. And in this, I just wanted to study the link between all the anti-choice movements in Europe. They are really linked together. They are putting a lot of money on the table against our rights. If we live in Poland, in France, I'm never read. They really are fighting against rights. They have a good strategy about that. They just want to organize themselves together, and that's what's written by Neil Data in Agenda for Europe. And we know that you have really to be together to struggle against that, to fight these anti-choice movements that want to fight abortion, but education for young people and contraception, and even just the right to decide. And that is not possible, I think, it's not the values of Europe. And we really have to organize ourselves beyond the borders, just to be able to put together all the progressive forces to how can I say that, to fight the backlash that we can see at the moment. This is something very important, and we cannot do that at the national level. We really have to do it at the European level, at the international level, because the churches, the populist movement, they really have connections, they have money, they are together for that, and we really have to fight together, activists, and put the pressure on the governments for that, because I think that women's rights are at risk, but democracy is at risk at the same time, I think.
So I think we were really made to meet in this subject, because it was exactly the theme of Klementyna Suchanov when she was in Paris.
And that's why I just wanted to ask you one question, Joanna, because your organization is working about democracy. And I think in France at the moment, we can see, for instance, that democracy can be shrinking in some places, because I know that, for instance, about the crisis, we say we need security, we need more police, maybe journalists should not be able to film some policemen in the streets and things like that. So I think there are some points that can be really, I think, very important to see and to say how that can threaten democracy, I think. And I would like to have your point of view about that, because for me, it's very important to link together democracy and women's rights. And how do you see that? Do you know France, you know Poland, and can you speak about that?
Yes, sure. It's quite interesting to make a little comparison between our countries, France and Poland, because of course we can say that there is a direct link between democracy when it does well. The women's rights are better also. But it's not so simple in Poland. The situation is complex, as our Polish paradox. I don't want to go to the details, but after the Second World War, Poland was dominated by a totalitarian Soviet Union, as we know, and we weren't free, but women's rights were written in the law. In the communist regime, the abortion was legal, free and accessible since 1956. In the public hospitals, gender parity was respected, at least in theory. But Solidarność movement was against abortion. It was their lawyers who prepared the law of almost total ban of IVG already in 1988. They said, can you imagine? They said people are not qualified in making decisions in good conscience. It's amazing. It was like in France in 19th century when women voting was forbidden because it was deemed that they couldn't make the right choice. Many revolutionists and opposition militants of Solidarność in the 80s were women. But curiously, once economic freedom and democracy began, women's rights disappeared in Poland and were forgotten. And our friends who was the national heroes for us after, they passed the months and years in communist jails, but there weren't on the women's side. So there was the merchant negotiation with the Catholic hierarchy when women's rights were sold for the approval of the church to the economic reform. But currently, Polish feminist movements are fighting for our democratic institutions that have been deconstructed by PIS Law and Justice Party since 2015. The first feminist call for action was by Martha Lempart in this year, 2015, and it was for the defense of independent judiciary. So it's characteristic. I think it's strong. If I compare Poland and France, as I have been able to call both places my home since 80s, I can say that I have never had any certitude about the permanence of our rights or triumph of democracy. In Poland, it's still a very young democracy. And we see now how easy it was to destroy it. Mm-hmm. In France, there is a longer institutional memory of democracy, but since I am concerned, democracy and women's rights, we saw this with Manif pour tous, mm-hmm. That nothing is acquired for good. Mm-hmm. It's like the movement of pendulum ahead, then back again. In France, the first Western European country to vote legalizing abortion in 70s has just a few weeks ago debated the proposition of law of the prolongation of the period for legal IVG from 12 to 14 weeks, and the number of abortion abroad for French women is growing increasingly because of that.
I'm sorry. I will need to stop you. I could listen.
Okay. I am telling the law was rejected without any discussion in Senate.
You both pointed out the role of the church in the whole process and these huge institutional processes that are not very helpful for women's rights. And it's a powerful voice. And I think that it just gave us a little taste of all your knowledge and experience from the feminist fight in cooperation. So thank you so much. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. There is the last part of our panel, and we're actually welcoming the panelists that couldn't join us earlier. Dolores from Switzerland. Welcome, hello. Nice to say hello and welcome to you 10 minutes before the panel ends. Great that you made it, that you are with us. Together with Kasia, you will have around 10 minutes to exchange about your experience. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. So if I understood right, I'm going to present Frau shortly. Frau is our Women's Center in Zurich, and it actually started way back in 1981. The Women's Center was founded right in the middle of Zurich city, in the heart of the city. It was actually a house, a whole house that we had as a Women's Center, and it hosted a restaurant, a library, and a women's clinic. And there, actually, they also did abortions, which were still illegal at the time. I will make a long story short. It was the Women's Center flourished, but in 2001, the then right-wing council decided to stop the funding of the house of the Women's Center. So actually in 2008, we had to abandon this place. And it was only in 2014 at the International Women's Day that some women gathered and they decided that actually in Zurich, there should be a Women's Center again. And they heard that the first floor in this same house at Mattengasse will soon be vacant, and they applied for this apartment and they got it. So this is how the Women's Center, Frauenzentrum, we call it Fraum, was reborn or born again. So today we have this Fraum, and if you imagine, it's like, actually if you enter the Fraum, it's like a living room. There's lots of armchairs, sofas, is a library, a bar, and we have a big kitchen for cooking, even a small garden where we can do our parties and concerts. But it really feels like entering your home. And this is very important for us because Fraum is not an institution, and it's not even like a fixed group of women or LGBTQI people meeting there, but this is actually like an open space created by and through activities of women. And of course, our Polish friends, they are one of the most active groups, and they also do the Fraum. So we say we create this space like again and again whenever we meet or whenever women are meeting in this space. So from a legal point of view, we are an association, but we only use this for renting the apartment and doing the annual accounts. And otherwise, there are about 5 women doing, like, we take care of the administration, paying the bills, filling up the bar, hosting the website, whatever, and cleaning, cooking, doing the groceries, whatever you do at home. This is also the things that all the women that are using the Fraum, they do it for themselves. Yeah, so actually, I think the most important thing is that you really understand Fraum as an open space, as a living room, as a place where women gather. Like, there's groups that gather regularly. I think there's about 30 groups of women and LGBTQI people. Then they gather regularly throughout the year. And then there's women meeting just to have a coffee or studying, learning Italian or spending time with their children. And we're always curious what happens in there. So actually, it's also kind of a secret, because whenever I'm not there, I don't know what's happening in Fraum, but I know that something is going on. So this is really kind of also, for me, it feels like in Zurich, this is kind of heartbeat or the rhythm, how women create space and how women also live in a public space. Yeah. But how, yeah, this is maybe my short presentation on Fraum. And now I'm going to ask Kasia what we're going to do now.
Should I ask the question first, or would you like to continue?
I can. No, maybe now it's your turn.
Okay. We know that you are still celebrating 50 years of voting rights in Switzerland. Our question is, how do you Swiss women feel now and see your present rights after those 50 years? Is it over? Is it everything for good? Is it super? Or are there any things that you have to fight for still?
Well, actually, although Switzerland is kind of an old democracy when it comes to women's rights, we are really a third world country. So we only have these 50 years of women's voting rights. I will just give 2 numbers. Only in 1992, marital rape was recognized as an official crime, and only in 2002, we got the right for legal abortion within the first 12 weeks. So really, I mean, there's so many examples to show you that we are only on our way to get the full rights and equality. And it's very important that we get the women's strike, like we had it in 91 and we had it 2 years ago. And it's really important to show that we are on the streets and we're really looking what's going on. And there's a discourse within the generations of women to transmit really this knowledge, how they fought for their rights. And we still have to fight for our rights. I mean, there's just been a decision by the federal court that women who get divorced are now expected to return to work, even if they stayed like 45 years, they lived as being housewives and they had no income on their own. So now we really have this decision, and it's a disaster, and it's a great risk for women to get divorced again. So it's really, we really have to be aware what's going on. Yeah. And actually that's also part, maybe the context of my question to you, because you have this Swiss national context with this very young, I would say we have a really young women's rights movement. And how is it for you to have your activities here in Switzerland, in Zurich, and especially in Fraum, and we're really a local, like, political women's space? How does it feel for you to to act from, in this context?
Yes, so let's start from frau shortly. Someone said that this is the this is the place where we can see the Swiss version of feminism, and I think it's the truth. It's just we can feel safe, like at home, a place with. But we feel that we are in place that belongs to someone who supports us, and it's very important for us. It's also important for us that we know that you are supporting and respecting the work of migrant women in Switzerland. You are respecting our rights also. You are fighting for for example, I found it in your manifest that you are fighting for the fact that diplomas are not recognized and valued. Migrants from diplomas are not recognized and valued in Switzerland, and we have to always, if someone would like to have it recognized, has to do some paper bureaucracy in order to have it recognized. So for us, it's very important that we feel supported, we feel respected. I think it's the most important for us. And it's also I would like to add that it's nice to do politics in such a place like frau, because we know that we can meet there. We meet the women from all over the world. We always share knowledge, but you always share knowledge. You share help, support, as I said. And you can talk with us. We know that you will talk about everything without hypocrisy and embarrassment. So it's very important for us. The most important part.
And we went to the women's strike together.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that was powerful.
As you can see, we're all coming back to you as we want to say the final word of thank you, goodbye, and greetings to Joanna, who cannot be with us right now. I want to thank her for co-moderating the panel. I would like to thank to all of you, the panelists from 4 countries: Anna, Kalina from Germany, being active in Germany, Kathrine and Kasia in Denmark, Véronique and Joanna in France, Dolores and Kasia in Switzerland, and Kata, who has been an amazing technical support for this panel, and we wouldn't have made it without her. And also, I must say, all the invisible ones who made this conference happen, who put the panels together, who worked on the coordination of the whole undertaking, which, as I said, is completely bottom-up, is a bottom-up initiative. We just started working together transnationally as Polish diaspora. This panel, for those that have just joined us and haven't realized that yet, is called March 8th Beyond Borders. We spoke with Polish diaspora living in different countries and their alliances and their allies. So people who support them in the common struggle. Thank you very much for being with us. I would like to encourage you to join other panels. There will be 2 more tomorrow and after tomorrow. If you're interested in her story, there's a panel for you tomorrow. So please follow the International Council of Polish Women, or in Polish, Polonijna Rada Kobiet, Polonijna Rada Kobiet. You can find us on Facebook, and there is a website. Thank you for being with us tonight. Amazing. Oh, I need to make a screenshot. Please don't leave the studio. To make a screenshot. That's a beautiful moment. There you go. Thank you so much. And good night. Are you all on mute?